Friday, August 6th, Just Baseball Show. Jack McMullen, Peter Apple. We talk about the Padres and what's going on there because they're so exciting, but they're also super frustrating. And we don't really know exactly what's going on with them. So we turn to somebody who does know what's going on with them, Javier Reyes, who is the meme guy. How many memes per week do you get from him?
I would say we're getting about, let's say 6 to 7 memes. We're getting about a meme a day. Okay. And he's just so solid because he sends me memes I've actually never seen before. Like he just sent me like an anime meme that was like making fun of the Dodgers, which is his whole shtick, which you'll hear in the interview. He's so anti-Dodgers. And at a time when the Dodgers just added Max Scherzer and Trey Turner at the deadline to an already stacked team, it's not the best time to be talking crap about the Dodgers.
Right. It's not the best time. And the Dodgers
but it's kind of hilarious.
It's funny as hell because
it's like a Yankee fan. Like if I'm talking shit about the Red Sox right now, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Not in the same boat because both the Padres and the Dodgers are both better than the Red Sox and the Yankees. I'd say. Would you say the Padres are better than the Red Sox? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I'd say no, actually, right now.
You'd say the Red Sox are better?
Yeah.
I'm in between. What the Red Sox with Chris Sale, I think, are better. I think as constructed right now, the Padres are better.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more like a Mets fan talking shit about the Yankees because it's just funny and they will never be the Yankees. The Padres will never be the Dodgers.
That's the big thing on Twitter too. It's like the Yankees are having the season where they actually have a better record than the Mets. But the Yankees are the team who's having the terrible season, and the Mets are having the great season, even though the Yankees have a better record. So I like to tell my roommate that. Shout out Will Cohen. I like to tell him, you know what? It's great that, you're a Mets fan and the Mets look great. But the Yankees are so bad. Oh, wait, they're literally better. And just the roster is just better. It just is.
Hey, before we get into the Padres conversation with Javi and the NL West conversation in general, so some people screw around on Reddit. Some people screw around on Twitter. I like screwing around on SpotTrack, which is
that's why I love you.
It's the contract, not tabulating. It's like the contract keeping site. So every major league, it's got every guy's contract details in there. And I was just curious about 25-year-old Freddie Peralta. I was like, does he have another year of pre-arbitration or does he hit arbitration this year? And I found his contract details. And oh my God, does David Stearns know what he's doing? Holy shit.
Oh my God.
We had the top 5 executives conversation on Tuesday. Now on Friday, I want to run through some of the most team-friendly contracts, and then you're going to run through some of the worst contracts in recent memory.
It was so much fun.
We're keeping this to recent memory. It's not Bobby Bonilla. We're keeping it to contracts that we saw signed, and it's like, oh, that's a really good deal. Also,
that's a really horrible one.
Right. The Padres conversation includes Eric Hosmer, of course. And
he did not make this because I knew we were going to talk about that. He's not on this one.
Right. So that's a crappy deal. We know that. But do you want to go one by one, or do you just want me to get all the great deals out of the way and then all the crap deals at the end?
I think a one by one, like you, then me, then you. So we can talk about something really good, then something really terrible, then keep going back and forth. I like that. I like that dynamic.
You have 3?
I have 3.
I have 4. Perfect.
Well, I have 3 and then a caveat.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Me, you, your caveat, and then my 4th. And then we get to Javi. Okay. So Freddie Peralta, I'm just going to start with him. 5 years, $15 million starting last year. For Freddie Peralta, getting the possible NL Cy Young Award winner this year for $1.3 million. 2.2 next year. 3.5 in 2023. 5.5 in 2024. And then $8 million if the club chooses the 2 years after to get him through his age 30 season. So he signed 5 years, $15 million with 2 club options tacked on the end of that. That is genius. And I feel bad for Freddie Peralta.
And he's what, 24 right now?
25.
25. And this deal goes to about his age 29, 30 season, around there.
If the Brewers take both of his club options, it takes him through his age 30 season.
You get his prime.
Yeah.
You get his prime for $15 million.
Yes.
So what I did is I ranked the worst deals. And when you consider how good 15 million looks for Freddie Peralta, and then you look at some of these deals, it's just insane. It's just so. At number 3, I have Albert Pujols, 10 years, $240 million from the Los Angeles Angels. And what does he have left? He still has a year, $30 million. That's this year. The Dodgers are now paying the prorated minimum salary, and the Angels got to pay a lot of that $30 million. Dang. So in his first 9 years with the Angels, Pujols slashed .257, .312, slugged .488 with 217 home runs. That is so far off from his time with the Cardinals, where in the last 9 seasons from 2003 to 2012, he slashed .330, .425 on base, .624 slugging with 374 home runs. And the most important part of this deal, yes, they paid out the nose for Albert Pujols, who never really did anything for the Angels. But what really handcuffed, what is that word? Handcuffed?
Handcuffed.
God. I combined handicapped and handcuffed into handicuffed.
Oh.
It handcuffed the Angels. The deal was so expensive that the Angels kind of wasted Mike Trout in his prime. All that money was for Pujols. Could they have paid starting pitchers? Could they have dispersed those millions in different places? I mean, think about it. Freddie Peralta's 5 years, $15 million. You think the Angels would absolutely die for him to be on their team? Like, where they gave him that much money, and not only was Pujols so bad, but it handicapped them. Handcuffed.
It handcuffed.
Handicuffed. I like that one now.
All right.
All of those Mike Trout prime years.
Yep. You can't go get anybody with that type of money on your books.
You can't go get anybody with that type of money on your books.
Except Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei is one of mine. Shohei for 2 years, $8.5 million coming into this year to bypass the first 2 years of arbitration. They shot him about $25 million total over those 2 years, lower than what he probably would have gotten. If he went to an arbitration hearing this year, how much do you think he gets?
22 million.
20 or 22?
Like the most you can get?
Right. Like he would set a record. They still have to hit arbitration with him in 2023, but for the immediate time being, $8.5 million for this year and next year of Shohei Ohtani. Like that was a phenomenal deal for Anaheim.
I just it kind of relates to our Padres discussion. So John Heyman just tweeted out, Padres talked to the Rangers about a Hosmer for Gallo trade and the Cubs about a Hosmer for Rizzo trade, but ended up doing neither. There was more to those deals, of course. In the Texas scenario, they would have had to include big-time center field prospect Robert Hassel, which they didn't love.
Okay. I mean, what were you expecting? Like the Rangers to be like, oh yeah, like we like Eric Hosmer.
No. I'm shocked that they were trying to put together deals that would send Eric Hosmer for a Joey Gallo or an Anthony Rizzo. I guess you would include a prospect in there, but why? I don't know. I didn't expect that.
I would expect it because Cronenworth can play first base in 2022.
No, I would expect the Padres to do it. I just don't expect any other team to even acknowledge that. And the fact that I feel like it was a report, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know. It just came up. I feel like it related.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's just get to our second. Okay. I mean, Miguel Cabrera, 8 years, $248 million. And don't forget the $30 million extra of mutual options for the 9th and 10th seasons in that deal. He still has 3 years left. That's including this season of $94 million with that added $30 million in mutual options.
Jesus.
An 8-year extension for a guy who was 33 at the time didn't seem like a great deal, but I'm not sure anyone expected one of the best right-handed hitters of our generation to somewhat fall off a cliff. I mean, he had 38 home runs in 2016, but since it's been a powerless wasteland.
Dude, that's
16, 3, 12, 10, 11. Those are the amount of home runs, Jack, in each season since 2017. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but like, that's awful.
But that's what happens when you get old. You fall off this cliff.
Yeah, and you got 8 years, 240 at 33 years old. Why did they do that? We're just talking contracts.
The Tigers paid for the past. They didn't pay for what was to come. Like, Miguel Cabrera earned that because he was so good at the time that he signed that contract. Did he earn that annual value? Absolutely. Did he earn 8 years? No 33-year-old earns 8 years.
And that's the thing about the contract, the sort of under the table, is that he has options for his 9th and 10th.
Yeah, just pick it up.
Obviously.
Make a dick ton of money.
Obviously.
A guy that's not making a dick ton of money right now is Jose Ramirez. And we've talked about his contract. Like, so fun. 4 years of backloaded $26 million. So $2.5 million in 2018, 3.7 in 2019, 6.2 last year, $9 million this year. And then you've got club options for 2022 and 2023 at $12 million and $14 million respectively. And that is a bargain for somebody with 2 All-Star appearances, 2 Silver Sluggers, and 2 top 3 finishes in AL MVP voting before they even dish him $10 million. God,
I love Jose Ramirez. I love how he plays. He's good at everything. He's one of those guys who doesn't have a hole in his game. And you may look at the slash line, him hitting 250, 260, and you may think, oh, he's not as good of a hitter as people, make him out to be. But no, he really is that great of a hitter. He has 0 protection in Cleveland. Nobody wants to pitch to him. That's why he walks so often.
Yep.
Jose Ramirez is still the best third baseman in baseball. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
This next contract sucked. Sucked. Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles, 7 years. Did you forget about Chris Davis of the Orioles?
I did not. I know that they're still paying his ass.
7 years, $160 million. 2 years. One of those years is this year at $17 million a year for a total of $34 million. Despite hitting just 196 in 2014, the Orioles were just fooled by his massive power numbers that Davis put up in 2013 and 2015. I mean, he combined for 100 home runs, which led them, they rewarded him, as the Tigers did with Miguel Cabrera, with that 7-year, $161 million deal in January of 2016. But since signing that extension, he's been the 2014 version of himself. He's hitting exactly 196 in parts of the 5 seasons. Isn't that kind of ironic? Over the past 5 years, Davis has hit 92 home runs. 38 of those came in the 2016 season. And guess what he's currently doing right now?
Is he playing baseball?
He's rehabbing a hip injury. He's been out the entire year, and he played a handful of games in 2020. We've just barely seen Chris Davis. I mean, it's just not good. It's just not good.
That's probably the worst deal in Major League Baseball history.
You paid a guy who hit a bunch of home runs in 2 years like you would pay a major superstar. And you thought, well, isn't he going to continue doing that? Because you were paying him to continue doing that.
And he wasn't going to.
He was never that good.
His bat to ball skills were horrible.
It's
like when he was in his late 20s, he would just run into a baseball like 60 times in a year. And that's how you get 60 home runs.
And we're not going to touch on this a ton, but he also got suspended for Adderall.
Yeah.
Do you think he might have used those in 2013 and 2015?
I think Adderall is fair. I don't think there should be an Adderall ban in Major League Baseball.
Depends. I mean, if you're prescribed.
Yeah. Was he prescribed?
I don't think he's prescribed.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's a different conversation.
I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Tell me your caveat, man.
It's a couple of Yankees.
Oh, so this isn't a caveat. It's just a whole nother one.
Well, I'm not going to go as far deep into it. I just want to touch upon the fact that Jacoby Ellsbury continues to make money and that Giancarlo Stanton has 7 years left at $208 million of his 13-year, $325 million contract.
I think the Marlins
I mean, as a caveat, because Giancarlo Stanton is actually as an 800 OPS, he's doing fine, but like he doesn't play the field and he's making so much money.
Yeah, I think the Marlins knew what they were doing when they signed him to that deal.
Well, you saying they did? Are you joking?
No, I think they knew what they were doing because they knew that they weren't going to have him for the entire time. Like somebody was going to sweep him up. And my mind goes to, did Brian Cashman know what he was doing when he went and got Stanton?
I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, probably not.
I just don't have an answer, unfortunately.
Two best bargains in baseball are on the same team, and then we'll get to this conversation with Javier Reyes, but Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies, two best bargains in baseball for Atlanta. Acuna, 8 years, $100 million to lock him through his age 30 season in 2028.
I feel bad for Acuna. It's terrible.
That's terrible, but even worse, Ozzie Albies got the Scottie Pippen deal. 7 years, $35 million.
That's horrible.
2 club options at $7 million per in 2026 and 2027. That's really awful for the best second baseman in baseball.
You feel bad for these guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you look back on it, it's like, well, he's still making $7 million a year to play a game. Like, it's not too bad. We're harping on the amount of millions that these young 20-year-olds get to play a game. We're cutting hairs here if you think about it. But then when you look at the actual baseball sense, it's a terrible deal for Albies. He should be making 20, 25 million a year. Easy. And then Acuna should be making 30.
Yeah, but they had to pan out after they signed that, and they obviously have panned out, and shit. They're bargains. All right, let's talk Padres with Javier Reyes. We now welcome on Just Baseball guy, Just Baseball CMO, not marketing, but memes, and the host of Locked On Padres, Javier Reyes. Javi, do you identify more with Locked On or with Just Baseball now?
Oh, geez.
That's a great question to ask off the gate. I love it.
I didn't know I was walking. What is the Goodfellas? I'm Joe Pesci.
You better prepare your answer because we're going to clip it and we're going to send it.
Look, when it comes to audio stuff, Locked On. I mean, I literally have my own podcast there. And when it comes to everything else, who do I send my memes to first? Peter can vouch for this. Who do I send all of my dumb takes about how I don't even know what my latest dumb take was. I said them too many, but I send them to Just Baseball first. So that's where I align.
And arguably that's more important and a very professional answer there. Very professional.
That's what I do, man. I'm like Mike Wilbon. I go right down the middle. I'm able to split both sides of the arc.
I love Wilbon. Let's talk about your Padres for a little bit, and then we'll expand the conversation to the National League West. Starting with the Padres, they finished July sub 500. Did they get swept by Colorado, or did they lose 2 of 3 to Colorado?
God, man, just saying that, it gets me so sad.
I know.
I think they lost 2 of 3. I try and block out the Colorado games. Full disclosure, I just pretend it's not happening. I just pretend that they won every single one. That they
hard to play in Coors. It just is. I mean, the Rockies have a positive record in Coors this year, out of nowhere, but they cannot win a road game.
Okay,
yeah,
but
it was 2-2. Sorry, it was a 4-game series. That's why I was forgetting.
They 2-2. That's disgraceful.
Mm-hmm.
But early goings in August, if they relinquish a late lead yesterday to Oakland and in Oakland, and yeah, they are a team that I think everybody had really high hopes for, because you saw in the early goings of the year, the Padres Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. You saw, Tatis take Bower Bridge twice, Machado take Bower Bridge again. Everybody looked at the Padres and said, that's the most exciting team, and I can't wait to tune in again in October when they're on national television every single game. And they're going to be a wild card team. I think the big question now is, do they make it out of that wild card game? And that immediately takes me to the pitching question, because post All-Star break, the numbers are really bad. Blake Snell, in his 4 starts after the All-Star game, has a 6.16 ERA. Yu Darvish, in his 3 starts since the All-Star break, has a 5.94 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on the mound in San Diego?
Oh my gosh. I mean, and let me know, by the way, when I can transition. You'll give me the key when I can transition, just make fun of Dodgers for just a couple seconds.
For sure.
Because I got to get it out there before it's too late. I got to get it out there.
Totally.
The Padres, and I was listening to you guys because, as you know, I'm a company man. Yeah. I was listening to you guys talking about the top GMs in baseball, right? And you put AJ Preller at, spoiler to everybody, at number 4. And I agreed. As long as he was in the top 5, I was fine. I think that I would argue, though, that AJ Preller's biggest miss of his tenure is actually not for Eric Hosmer, because I think that you could actually make an argument that getting Eric Hosmer cemented the Padres as a team that was no longer just going to pull an Oakland. They weren't going to pull a Cleveland and just hope that all their prospects break out and never pay anybody. It kind of was an identity change. And you could argue that doing that made Manny Machado more interested to come over. So you could argue that if you're being very generous. I think Blake Snell is the biggest miss of his tenure. He gave up a decent – everyone acts like they didn't give up anything. They didn't give up anything for Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove in the context of things. And before someone – clips this 10 years from now because the random dude who's in single A does well, like screw off, like whatever, right? Like you know what I'm talking about. In the moment, it's really not all that big of a package. But for Blake Snell, they did give up Luis Patino, who I know he's been a little bit up and down in Tampa from what I've seen. I've tried to I haven't accepted it. I know. I don't watch. I don't even look up his numbers. When I hear he does well, I'm just like, good for him, man. And then if I hear he struggles, I'm like, all right, yeah. I'm not looking at the numbers whatsoever. I refuse, because I imagine upon closer look, he looks great for the 22-year-old that he is, I think, at this point. Yeah. So they did give up a decent amount for him. And you look at the team now, they wouldn't be as struggling and looking for a starting pitcher at the trade deadline, which I very publicly was distraught about after we acquired Scherzer, then did not, because Ken Rosenthal is a narc. Actually, I don't mind Ken Rosenthal, but I lost my mind. And for them to not get a starting pitcher, it's like one thing not to, if you're like, Toronto or whatever, like you really need one. But the Padres, they just needed a guy. I don't even know if it was Barrios. I don't even know if it was Scherzer, but they're in a situation where if Blake Snell was not Robbie Ray circa 2018 to 2019, which I wrote in my article recently for the site, they wouldn't be in this position to be dead. Like it's serious trouble of a starting pitcher. They have Musgrove, and to a degree you have confidence in Yu Darvish, but then if you look at the numbers, it's a little scary with him, especially with the whole sticky stuff. So I don't know, man. It's really rough in SD right now. I think that a lot of people are just hoping that Preller just knows what he's doing, and for sure has earned the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he knows Mackenzie Gore is literally Kershaw when he comes up. Maybe he just knows that. We don't know. Hey, breaking news, everybody. You know how GMs work? They don't just type in, on the keyboard, Baseball America, and then just decide, yeah, those are the only guys that I could give up. Right. That's not how this works.
Right.
You can make as many guesstimates as you can, but maybe he knows Gore is actually he's playing possum. He's not. He's just struggling right now in the minors. But right. Who knows what they know, right? So hopefully the Padres can kind of just the hope is that Musgrove and Darvish and their general starting pitching is just going through a little bit of a meh. But then with Blake Snell, you look at it, it's just like it's night and day. It is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It's awful for him. And if he was better, then the Padres wouldn't be, in my opinion, in the position they are in, and might be one of the reasons Preller was, didn't want to pull the trigger on a starting pitcher at the deadline.
So we're talking starting pitching. I mean, and we're talking wild card games. Starting the wild card game, because I think at this point I have Joe Musgrove as starting the game over Yu Darvish, over Blake Snell. Who would you start in the wild card game?
Believe it or not, I still give me Darvish.
Yeah.
Give me Darvish. I know it sounds weird, and I really like Joe Musgrove. If they picked him, I wouldn't be mad. Yeah. I wouldn't even do the thing where if Musgrove gets blown up, I'm like, I told you so. No, I get it. His curve is awesome this year. He can literally throw it multiple times in a row, as he did in the Oakland game, and batters still won't hit it. Yeah, it hangs up and now and then, and they take it out for a 3-run bomb, and it's like Brandon Belt does that or whatever, right? But for the most part, he's just been so effective, right? Even when he doesn't rack up the Ks, he just doesn't. I mean, his whip is below 1 right now. After start against Oakland. And that's like a good mini stat. I know I'm not like breaking any news that whip is important here on the Just Baseball show, but that's a nice little moment for him. He does not give up just a crap ton of hits. I just feel like Darvish, I just like the narrative thing. He was awful in the playoffs for the Dodgers.
That's the thing. That's why I'd be nervous for him to start a winner take all game.
I know 100%, but I just feel like he can have that big game. If you look at earlier in the season, granted, This is post sticky stuff and all that. Against the Giants, and particularly against the Dodgers, he was great. I think he's only given up 3 runs and 3 starts against the Dodgers. So part of me wonders if maybe he knows how to pitch against them. I don't really know. I don't know anything, to be honest with you. But it is true. There definitely is a concern there. I imagine it would be like if there's the first sign of trouble, they bring in Musgrove. You definitely don't bring in Blake Snell. That much I can tell you. Blake Snell is not starting the wild card game unless he goes into a, to make Jack happy, I guess, like a Jake Arrieta-esque, final month of the season.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not. But then at the same time, which is what I also mentioned in the article, like the Padres are still a really good team, and winning potentially on the high end, like 93 to 95 games, that's not like a loss. It's a little more complicated than that.
It's a lot more complicated than that. And we're going to get back into the personnel in a moment, but I think what a lot of people are doing is jumping to these crazy conclusions. So 40 games into this year, you were saying the Padres are going to win the World Series in year 1 of the window. Mm-hmm. Now you're saying the Padres aren't going to win the World Series in their 1-year window. Mm-hmm. Both are false. This is year 1 of the window. And I think my question to you, because I'm struggling to put together a timetable on this, how big is the window?
I think it's 3 years. I think that, and the other thing is, the window, in my opinion, actually would have been opened a lot more if they were able to get rid of Eric Hosmer, just because that contract is annoying, and rightfully ownership is probably annoyed by it. I just think that you look at the core: Jake Cronenworth, Tatis, Manny Machado, Trent Grisham, and hopefully if he figures out Yu Darvish, and then Joe Musgrove, and then next year you get Mike Clevenger. So there's your arm. Everybody that doesn't get brought up enough. I even forgot to bring it up in the piece, to be perfectly honest with you, because I wrote too much. But like that has to be brought up, and it has to be brought up that another thing that I alluded to. Now this is me pulling a let me start a rumor that is absolutely just no merit to it, but like,
let's do it. I love rumors.
Let's do it. Shane Bieber, he's on the block. Let's do it. Like he's
Can
that's what Preller's waiting for. I mean, I don't think it's the most inconceivable thing, because what I point out is, like, I know he hasn't turned out well, but Blake Snell, it wasn't like a widely popularized belief that he was going to be available. If someone told you, especially how he did in the playoffs and how the Rays are doing, that they were just going to ship him off, like that's not necessarily the most believable thing. I know it's Tampa, but still, you don't know. Their Cleveland strategy for like 5 years now has just been to sell. So who knows if they're like, let's just get for Mackenzie Gore and CJ Abrams, we'll give you Shane Bieber. Maybe that's what Preller thinks. Maybe some other name we're not even talking about is going to become available. Kenta Maeda, his price goes down a little bit. Who knows? So maybe Preller is looking at this and saying, I don't want to be in a position of some other teams in the league that are not bad enough to tank and get high draft picks, but they're also not good enough to be contenders and whatnot, right? They want to have a little bit more flexibility. They want to be able to have, don't put your eggs all in one basket. Who knows? Jake Cronenworth next year could look awful. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, it's good thing they have CJ Abrams to come up and like be their second thing. You just don't know. I'm doubtful about that happening, but even still, things change way too much in the sport for us to kind of just say they had this 1 year and that's it. Who knows? It might be 4 years.
And my worst take of the season, I think, was saying that Blake Snell is better than Yu Darvish and that he was going to come over from Tampa Bay after he got taken out in Game 6 and just take it upon himself to be an actual beast this year. What does he do? Does the complete opposite. Does a complete 180 on what he was in Tampa. And now, like we said, he's rocking a 5 ERA. I have a question on the offensive side, because the Padres made a big deal in the trade deadline. They got Adam Frazier. But without, and we've talked about that Hosmer contract, without moving Hosmer out, you now have this influx of hitters, right? Yeah. You have Machado at third, Tatis at short. You got Cronenworth, you got Ha-Seong Kim, you got Eric Hosmer, and then the outfield, you have Trent Grisham, you have Will Myers, Tommy Pham. There's a lot of names there. I'm curious, you've been watching Padres games. We've been watching a couple here and there, but we haven't had the full experience. How is the Adam Frazier experience going in San Diego?
It's going okay. I was actually about to look up before this, but then you said, hey, let's do Uri. And I said, okay, I was going to look up like pitches per at bat with Adam Frazier, because he is an aggressive hitter, man. He likes to get up there and just swing at the ball, which is good. I mean, he's literally leads the NL in hits, I'm pretty sure still. So with the Adam Frazier thing, it's kind of like, I don't know, man, because he's also gotten like days off in routine. I think he's like 5 for 27 or so to start with the Padres, which feels weird. Which feels weird, by the way. I don't remember seeing him bat 27 times, so double check my math on that. Like there's been a lot of games. They have a lot of guys to move around, which kind of speaks to the flexibility thing that I was mentioning, where Jerickson Profar has kind of been bad. Ha-Seong Kim is a fan base legend. I love his glove. He's so exciting to watch play shortstop, but he hasn't figured out for hitting yet. He's got a really bad pull rate at like 49.5% right now. So he's still figuring out. He's still figuring it out.
He's pulling half the ball.
He's pulling the ball half the time. It's not great, I guess, but even still, I view him as a prospect in his own right. I know he's on the major league roster, but to me, he's like a Padres prospect that just happens to also be playing in really pivotal games for them. But still, that's a whole nother discussion entirely. I think with the lineup, you're just kind of hoping that Frazier is enough to give them a little bit of a boost and it doesn't cost much, right? Like they're just a low cost bat. It didn't cost as much as maybe what it would have taken to get Joey Gallo. Granted, I would have liked that because the Padres, when it comes to slugging and home runs, have not been Slam Diego this year. They have actually been quite good at getting on base. That has not been an issue. Tommy Pham has been awesome. I know I ranted to you guys in the chat when you almost left him off of the top 20 outfielders. I was like, what are you doing? But he's, of course, because the universe hates me, then has had a really bad last month or so. So I think depth is their thing. And I think Preller is just like, I want to have as many shots as I can, especially with the injury to Tatis, which I think is more likely going to be a thing that he can come back from. And they're waiting for the offseason to get surgery. But it's not inconceivable that like by the time we're done recording this, they're like, you know what, this is actually, we lied. He actually did suffer more damage and we need to do the surgery right now. So it's just, God damn it, man. It's really rough, but you have to remember what they have, and they still have a good team. And by the way, the team that's in first right now is the Giants, not the Dodgers. If that holds, I don't know about you guys, but I remember the Dodgers losing quite a lot of playoff games over the last decade, aside from the truncated season last year.
They're pretty good though now.
Congratulations,
have Turner and Max Scherzer. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
even just having them,
bring it on.
Like even the Nationals, like that's still pretty good.
Quick question, Javi. Did you see Max Scherzer strike out 10 in his Dodger debut? Because
I did. It was good for them, man. Good for them. They're the one team in sports where, you know how we always thought we have those moments where like Damian Lillard, this year's playoffs, right? He carried the Blazers and someone tweeted like he painted the Mona Lisa and his teammates just threw water on it, right? Yeah. We always talk about when LeBron carries a team. Well, the Dodgers are the first professional team that I could remember where their GM is actually carrying them. He's like, please, I am giving you all the good players of the world, exception maybe Justin Turner, I guess, but they always blow it. You know what I mean? With the exception of last season. So let's just say, would it be that shocking if the Dodgers happen to get Max Scherzer in there and he gives up 5 runs to the Padres and then they win and we're making fun of them? That's like the happy timeline. The dark timeline is that the Dodgers win the World Series and we're all just like, cool. I mean, the thing with the Dodgers fans is that they hate us, right? They hate the Padres guys, and we hate them, rightfully so.
Before you keep going, I just want to cue Pete in on this. Did you see that we didn't even ask a single NL West question? We were still fully invested in the Padres, and Javi turned this into an F the Dodgers conversation.
And the thing is, I have another question about Trent Grisham since July 1st, but I'll wait until Javi gets done talking about possibly the greatest roster we've ever seen in baseball history.
Yeah, no.
It's cool, man.
Keep telling us how bad the Dodgers are.
Look, it's cool, man. It's cool, man. Like, look, they've had great rosters before, and congratulations, you won the truncated season. Like, it's a really great kind of accomplishment for you guys to beat the Tampa Bay Rays and the team that maybe people can name 3 guys on it. Like, it's really great. And I think the thing about the Dodgers fans, and there's a lot of trolls on there, and I'm actually friends with a decent amount of them, and I like a lot of Dodgers reporters, but then there's like the hacks out there and like the Dodgers Twitter, right? Where it's like, I think they're genuinely just upset that nobody likes them anymore. You guys choked like 10 years in a row. Like the Dodgers had the excitement that the Padres did at one point, right? You bring up Bellinger and Corey Seager, and even when they had Manny Ramirez, heck, that was like kind of a fun, weird thing that they did.
Yeah.
And they have all these guys, and it's like Clayton Kershaw can't pitch. You know, he's getting smacked by, I don't know, Matt Carpenter in the playoffs, whoever it was, right? And then Howie Kendrick. You guys lost to Howie Kendrick. So
Javi, can I interject for a second?
Go for it.
Name a weakness on the Dodgers right now.
A weakness is that you've only won once. You know
but like look at their roster. They're literally a super.
I would say I would say the only thing that could be an issue for them is Kenley Jansen. He got extraordinarily lucky the first half of the year. Yeah, that's right. I can't prepare.
Not a bad take.
You guys tried to trap me at the beginning of this, wiggled out of that. You know what I mean? Like I'm a little slime ball. And then right here, look, Kenley Jansen for a lot of the year had been good, but only on the surface level. He'd been getting very lucky. Highest walk rate per 9 of his career. His home run fly ball was like 2.2 or something ridiculous like that, percentage wise. He was walking a lot of batters, and his BABIP was like 150. So he was due, and we've seen a lot. Even in early this week, whenever the heck this episode comes out, he gave up a big home run to, I think it was Kyle Tucker. They still won the game, but if it wasn't 7-2, all of a sudden he blows another game. So I would say closing is the only thing that could be an issue for them, and I love it because closing, as we all know, is about not choking it. You know what I mean? And the Dodgers are pretty good at choking. So let's just say, bring it on, LA. I can't wait for, Tommy Pham and not Tommy Pham because he's actually like proven really good. I can't wait to just see Tatis in the dugout losing his mind after you guys let, Jake Marisnick hit a big 2-out double to tie the game off of you guys. And you spending all this money, you have all these shiny toys, and you still lose. It's going to be great. Can't wait for it.
Hey, massive haul, Jake Marisnick for former Fort Wayne Tin Cap Anderson Espinoza there, straight up. Hey, I've got one hypothetical for you guys before we get back to the Padres individual conversation, because I know you have a Trent Grisham question, Pete. I've got a Jorge Mateo question, but I saw your eyebrows just going.
Ooh,
my guy Mateo.
One of the fastest guys in baseball.
Yeah, but unfortunately not a Padre anymore. Well, he might be. He just got DFA'd. But, okay. Moving forward, because you did mention Shane Bieber, and he could be in play if you pay through the nose if you're the Padres with prospects.
I would give them.
Who would you rather have going forward with the contractual setup that they have right now? Walker Buehler or Shane Bieber?
What is Shane Bieber right now? I don't even know what his deal is.
Shane Bieber, I think, hits arbitration this year. So he's got 3 arbitration years. Buehler has this and 2 more.
Oh, I'd take Buehler. Buehler's awesome. I actually think Buehler
I don't know.
I think Buehler is a guy that wins a Cy Young. I really do. I don't know if he's going to be like, how they had Greinke and Kershaw for a while. I think, right? Yeah, like it was kind of like they noticed Zach Greinke, but it was kind of like a little bit under the radar. I think that could be what Buehler is, to be honest with you. A guy who's just going to be really good for years to come. I know the upside with Shane Bieber is good, but hey, I mean, this year he was a little up and down. Let's just be honest. I mean, he walked a lot of guys. He was
striking out everybody.
Yeah, but he's still,
I know that's the thing. He was striking. He was the really good side of Snell, like a 9.2 walk per 9, but then he struck out like 20 per 9. Like it was very chaotic. I enjoyed it. Hey, honestly, at least it'd make the games exciting. You know what I mean? I would love that. Yeah.
I think we're really dealing with recency bias there. Like Shane Bieber is hurt right now. We're watching Walker Buehler just shove. And yeah, I mean, and when you asked that question, I really had to take a second because I was like, wait a minute, is Walker Buehler better than Shane Bieber? And I would say he is not.
But it's close.
I need Shane Bieber to come back from injury. I need to see how he responds. And then I want to make that judgment because Shane Bieber is still fucking Shane Bieber, dude.
Man.
Like he's still probably the 3rd best pitcher in baseball behind Jacob deGrom and Garrett Cole. If we're not looking at injury and we're still looking back at our pitcher rankings, which we didn't do too long ago,
Pete, we sure about Garrett Cole? I
think it's Shane Bieber. But if you said Walker Buehler, I don't really have anything to say because I think
it's whatever costs less. That's my take. Whichever costs less. If they had to give up Gore and Abrams for one of them and only Gore for another one,
would you trade Gore and Abrams for Bieber?
Yeah. I would. I think I would.
Would you, Jack?
No, Andrew Friedman not giving Walker to the Padres. Like that.
Could you imagine?
I'm just saying, if you are the general manager of the Dodgers, would you do that trade? Or if you're the general manager of the Padres, like who says no? Who says no? That's the best thing on Twitter. Who says no? And it's just random trade proposals.
And to be honest, I think the Dodgers say no because we talked about it. There's so much value in knowing. And with Mackenzie Gore right now, you do not know. He hasn't appeared in a minor league game since mid-June.
He's walking everybody.
Yeah.
He hasn't pitched since mid-June.
Yeah.
He's good. Don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. Next Kershaw, baby. We good.
But he hasn't pitched since mid-June, Javi. So
I know. He's playing possum, clearly. Like he's clearly, they don't want to show, because I don't know if you guys heard this report. I'm not making this up. I actually saw it in Outkick that the Dodgers were actually they were spying on Mackenzie Gore in the minor league games. It's a crazy story. And okay, I'm gonna stop this before someone actually takes that seriously. I'm kidding. No, like yeah, the Gore thing hasn't been great, but my biggest thing with Gore is he was literally like top 10 in all of baseball and then has had a really bad start. And now we're done. Like, I don't like being out on a guy after that soon. Similar to how I think our founder is right about not being out on Tua Tagovailoa and the NFL after making only like 6 starts. So yeah, that's my take. Give people time.
I'm not out on
Give
Gore.
the man a second.
Give the man a second.
I'm not out on Gore either. I'm just saying he hasn't thrown in a while, and Walker Buehler is throwing more innings than literally anybody. Pete, you cool if I ask the Mateo question and then we get to your Grisham question?
No, I'm not cool with it.
Okay, then you ask the Grisham question.
Go for it.
Hey, so Jorge Mateo DFA'd, and I'm sure you were not expecting me to bring up the name Jorge Mateo right now, but his speed and his defensive abilities, his possibility of even playing a serviceable left field or right field for them was really enticing. Why did they DFA him? Like, what are they going to miss about Jorge Mateo down the stretch?
Look, I mean, with Matt Strahm coming up, Matt Strahm's like a pretty solid reliever, I think, Loki. I mean, I don't think if there's one objectively great thing about the Padres is their bullpen is just completely lights out. And they added Daniel Hudson. So, like, they're good on that front. I know people are complaining about the Shark because he blew a save. And it's like, all right, congratulations. I don't know if you guys knew this, but like, it's kind of incredible what he'd been doing already. He's going to regress to a degree, at least I expect. And then they still got Pomeranz and Strahm and Austin Adams and his 28K per 9. Like they're okay. It's okay, guys. They'll figure it out when the time comes. But with Jorge Mateo, I have such a soft spot in my heart for Jorge Mateo because he really struggles as a batter. He's really frustrating to watch as a batter. You feel like there's more there, but he just doesn't quite get it. I know that he doesn't necessarily get all the playing time in the world. But even still, I am going to miss the guy a little bit. And they bring in Jake Marisnick, who maybe Preller is saying, I actually think this guy might be better than what he's doing right now. And Mateo, I guess he just wanted to have that extra reliever. You know what I mean? I think that that's how the Padres are approaching it. And with Mateo, I have such a soft spot. Almost forgot to mention this because last year there was a walk-off. I think it was on, which is the holiday in September, Labor Day or Memorial Day? Labor Day. I don't know why I always forget that. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That on the Labor Day,
apology
I feel so
accepted.
On Labor Day, it was the day before Labor Day. I think the day of, the Padres had a walk off against the Rockies, a team that is, you know, the Avengers whenever the Padres play them this year, apparently now. But they had a walk off, and Jorge Mateo ran home off of this Jerkson Profar hit and jumps up and is like he just discovered just the idol and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, he was so excited about it and so happy. So like, it's just the energy of Jorge Mateo I think is going to be missed. I wish that Profar also, because his energy is great too. I wish he could back it up with his production. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that it's one of those players that just, they need a little bit more, man. Like we are giving you some opportunities and we're just not really seeing it all that much right now.
Yep.
We talked on the GM episode about how one of the best deals that AJ Preller made was acquiring Trent Grisham for Luis Urias and some other pieces like Eric Lauer.
That was it.
And he's one of my favorite. He's legit one of my favorite center fielders in baseball. I love watching Trent Grisham play. He's so good on defense, and he's really come into his own as a hitter. But since July 1st, I mean, you wrote about it in your article. He's just straight up sucked. I mean, since July 1st, he's hitting 181. He has a 54 WRC plus. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe this when I saw this. He has 3 extra base hits since July 1st, and he's striking out 20% of the time. And he's not a strikeout guy, so that's a higher strikeout percentage than he's normally used to. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to what you've seen from Trent Grisham. Is this just a slump? Are we just like, you know what, middle of the year, he's not hitting that well, he'll be fine? Or do you think that this could be something more?
Look, man. Look, I need you to really hear me when I say this. Trent Grisham fucking rules, okay? Like, he started really, really hot. That's the way I view it. I genuinely view it as just a slump. I wanted more. I did a video earlier this year where I said he finished in the top 10 in MVP of the National League. For everybody that wants to complain, congratulations on your prediction that the Dodgers will win 112 games. Wow, really bold prediction there. Sorry that I tried to be different.
So bitter.
Assholes. I'm still bitter. I'll make fun of the Dodgers as much as I can, man. I think that with Grisham, I wanted a little bit more this year. I did. And his stat line, I think in totality this year is basically pretty much similar to last year. It's around 250 average, 340, 350 on base, which is still good. And he's still a really good defensive player. I don't know if he's like Jackie Bradley Jr., once in a lifetime defensive player, or even Manny Margot, who looks awesome in Tampa Bay right now. He might not be that, but I just think he rocks. And like you said with that trade, like Trey Grisham, while I might have been wrong about the top 10 MVP thing, I literally think Padres Twitter only gives me a smidge of like credit, whatever the word is, like because of heading into last year, I was like, this deal was so good and nobody realizes it. This guy has only been a walking machine. He has a pretty good eye at the plate. Sometimes it's he does strike out a decent amount every now and then. He goes through those slumps where he just can't even hit seemingly the simplest of fastballs down the middle. But just in terms of his eye at the plate, he's very good. I think he has like not fam upside when it comes to plate discipline, but like up there being a top caliber guy, and he's still very young. There's still a lot of there. And I think a lot of people were letting the error in the playoffs kind of put a guise over how good he was. And the Brewers, I mean, they would be killing for this guy right now for sure too. So Grisham is awesome and is a great example of why Preller should still be trusted. I mean, the fact that he made that deal, Preller's thing might be that he likes to operate in just sneaking people from other teams. He likes to grab them. He got you. You know what I mean? He's like, what are those things called? The Venus flytrap? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
He's like the Venus flytrap of managers. It's just a little plant thing, and all of a sudden it gets you. Hey, we're gonna steal Jake Cronenworth and Tommy Pham for Xavier Edwards, who that's his name, right?
Yeah, he's going to be pretty good, though.
Who's the guy in Minnesota? No, I'm thinking of basketball. Thank you. I was thinking Anthony Edwards. Okay. All right. So it was Xavier Edwards.
Edwards.
Yeah. And maybe that guy ends up great, but it doesn't matter. Bottom line is they got Cronenworth out of that. And Cronenworth is just, I mean, that guy just might be this team's Ben Zobrist. He really might be.
Yeah, that's a great comparison for him.
He just might be for years to come. Maybe he'll have a couple of great years like he did in, I think he was good in Chicago. Or was it the Royals that he was good? I don't remember.
Tampa, Royals. He was good everywhere.
Tampa, but then afterwards it was Tampa. Yeah. But like
in Kansas City, and then he was a World Series MVP in Chicago. Like he was just really
good. Yeah. He was just
been good
really,
forever
really good.
For a long time, just doing his job.
Never a guy. If we have, after the Padres have won their 3 World Series championships, when we do the documentary about it, Zobrist won't be the first guy you bring up. You know what I mean? He's going to be the Steve Kerr guy that you bring up, a la Last Dance. The first guy you're going to bring up is Tatis, and then Machado, Pippen and Jordan, all that stuff. Am I being hyperbolic right now? Absolutely. But I'm just trying to, you fake it till you make it, man. Things are not going lovely for the Padres right now. And I'm just hoping that things, keep going in the positive direction, I think.
Oh, okay. 2 more questions from me, relatively rapid fire before we wrap up. Where do the Padres end in the National League West?
Third. I still think they finished third. I think that we need to stop saying that the Giants are going to calm down. They're not. I don't know why.
I agree. I don't think they are either. They're too good.
I think it was after I realized it after what was the start when I wrote my Gosman article, which everybody could check out too, which was ruthlessly slaughtered, by the way, the intro of that article. I'm still haven't gotten over that. Just being completely cut out. I'm looking at you, Aram. I hope you're listening. But no, that's when I realized, guys, the Giants just have all these guys, Lamonte Wade, Brandon Belt, Longoria. What the, it just doesn't make sense. But I think the Giants are going to keep it up. The only question right now is who finishes first and second.
Craziest part about the Giants is Steven Duggar, Darren Ruff, Donovan Solano.
I think Brandon Crawford's insane too. He's never been this good as a bat. He's never been this good. He's been a good defensive player, but
like 290 with 18 bombs.
Good God. And first person that makes a comment about Crawford being better than Tatis is getting shanked, by the way, because I know someone wants to make it. I know they do.
Last one for you, Javi. What shows are we watching right now?
Oh man. So I'm still on my One Piece grind, which everybody who follows me knows I've been obsessed with. I've tweeted about it like fairly recently. Even Just Baseball has some One Piece memes in there. I'm still doing that. I'm on 816 episodes. Yes, if you haven't heard of the show, it's very, very long, but it's rad. And I'm trying to watch Freaks and Geeks, but my friend, my Hulu currently isn't available at the moment, so I haven't been able to do that. And then I'm going to try and catch up and do Freaks and Geeks. I only watched the first episode. Everybody says that I would like it. And then I'm in the middle of my Avatar: The Last Airbender rewatch, otherwise known as one of the 5 to 10 best shows ever made. So
Okay.
doing really good.
Bobby, we should start a podcast after this baseball season is over where you just teach me about shows and movies, because I'm 23 years old. I'm about 22 years behind most things.
Wow, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, I watch too many sports. I can't get it. When I'm watching a TV show or a movie, I'm just like, I feel like I'm missing.
So you haven't seen like any TV, basically?
Not okay. So we were talking about
Jack.
this.
We got to make a list. We got
how many shows have you guys watched all the way through in your life?
Not too many. Don't get me wrong. I got more
like
into
5.
TV a little bit later. Like when I got out of high school is when I started. Like actually in college is when I started to actually watch a lot more TV. I used to watch like Hawaii Five-0 and Bones as like my only 2 shows, and then Avatar: Last Airbender because I was early on how good that show was. But for the most part, and anime stuff too. For the most part, I hadn't watched many series in my life, but there's so much there. And what I love about TV is, unlike movies, the same level of snobbery. I mean, you guys aren't necessarily as part of film Twitter as I am. For those who don't know, I also write about movies and TV in my spare time.
Yeah, weird flex here.
Yeah. Like it's very movies. It's so much more snobbery related there. Like it's like, hey, that movie that made 20K this year, that was actually the best movie. Screw Palm Springs and stuff that people actually watched. In TV, what I love so much is oftentimes the things that are super popular are also some of the best. This isn't like a thing where people are only talking about Boardwalk Empire, whatever the hell, right? It's like, no, Stranger Things is very good. No, Billions is very good. What's that one star? Succession is very good. There's so much stuff that people talk about that is just genuinely critically redeemed. It's the best bridge, I feel like, between populist and critically, artistically, whatever the hell that means, merited.
Interesting. Pete, I'm going to give you a lot more lowbrow things to look at. Dave on Hulu, that's a little
I'm not even going to call that lowbrow, man. I'm not going to call that lowbrow.
Has Dave gotten somewhat weird, though? Have you guys
I haven't
up with
seen
Dave at all?
any of season 2 yet.
It's so good.
Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2 since has been slightly strange.
It's been weird as shit, but it's been great.
It's an oversimplification, but speaking of shows about like rappers, basically, check out Atlanta if you haven't. Atlanta's like one of, I think,
Charles Gambino.
I would argue it's not my favorite show ever. I don't even think it's in my top 5 for anyone who's curious.
It's one of my top 5s or top 10s.
It might be, at least from stuff I've seen in my lifetime, one of the just, it's so, I don't even know how they do it. I've never seen a show that so easily can transition to political, societal commentary to like genuinely hilarious humor in the span of, I'm not even kidding, like 5 seconds. And it feels seamless. Like I can't wait for season 3 and 4 of that show. Donald Glover, where you at? You've had plenty of time, man. Come on. We're waiting, man. We're waiting. Jack and I are waiting. Let's do it.
Oh, he's working his artistic genius. Javi working his Padres genius. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Love being on here, man.
Thanks, Javi.
He's a treat.
He's great.
He's hilarious. Like he has so much to get off of his chest when he comes on.
Doesn't it feel like that? Like he's just venting and it's all fantastic. It's just all entertaining.
Do you feel a little bit like a therapist when he comes on, or how about when Aram talks about the Marlins? I kind of feel like a therapist when Aram talks about the Marlins.
But it's almost like it's the being defensive of your team. Like if you're going at me about the Yankees, I'm just like, yeah, like you're kind of right. Like we suck. But then you got to give it to Javi because the Padres are definitely better than the Yankees, and they have been so good. And then they're probably beefing back and forth on Twitter constantly. But it feels so defensive. It feels so defensive.
Man, what you watching this weekend?
Well, right now I'm taking a good hard look at Yankees Mariners because that's like kind of low key important. The Mariners have really become like a decent team, and I think the Yankees, after beating the Orioles and the Marlins straight away, they need to prove that they can beat actually a serviceable team. So I'm looking at that. Angels Dodgers, little LA series. I'm very interested in watching this next weekend. Also, what else? Giants Brewers is going to be sick.
You want to know what I'm watching?
Chicago Brouhaha.
2:20 Eastern today. Lance Lynn at Kyle Hendricks at Wrigley. Saturday, Carlos Rodon at Adbert Alzolay. And then Sunday Night Baseball, Dylan Cease and Zach Davies at Wrigley Field.
I'd like to end the pod talking about win probability added because I saw this tweet and it had one of our dudes on there. It actually had like 4 of our dudes on there. and they're all ranked. Jeremy Frank does a great job on Twitter. Go give him a follow at MLB Random Stats. But before I get into the rankings, I want to explain what win probability added is. And this is the exact definition which you can find on MLB.com. So win probability added, or WPA, quantifies the percent change in a team's chances of winning from one event to the next. It does so by measuring the importance of a given plate appearance in the context of the game. For example, a home run in a one-run game is worth more than a home run in a blowout game. And also, a player's WPA can also be affected on the base pass. It will increase if he steals a base, but decrease if he's caught stealing or picked off. And so both pitchers, relievers, hitters, all of them are measured in this by the stat. So number one is Shohei Ohtani at 5.76. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when you see where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at 3.67, you're like, holy shit. Shohei is literally adding so much winning baseball to a team.
Yes.
From pitching to hitting. Number 3 is Fernando Tatis Jr. at 3.53. Number 4 is Josh Hader at 3.44.
Wow. Because of all the high leverage outs.
High leverage outs. That's the big thing. Guess you'll literally never guess who number 5 is. I'll even give you the team.
Okay.
The Minnesota Twins.
The Minnesota Twins. Shit.
Dude, like when I saw the name, I was like, you're lying.
Who?
Jorge Polanco.
No.
Our boy. But the thing is, Jorge Polanco's having a good year. He's at 811 OPS, 18 bombs, 9 stolen bases, playing good defense.
Are they all coming in a tie game in the 9th inning?
They actually, I think he's just one of the clutcher guys. He's really just, he's a stud in the stat. He's above 6th place, Jacob deGrom. And then 7th place, you have Kendall Graveman, who's been phenomenal this year. And then rounding out the list, Nick Castellanos, then Lance Lynn.
Yeah, shit. I love that.
I love that.
Wow. I'm a massive fan. Okay.
Jorge Polanco, number 5 in all of baseball in win probability added. It's very interesting.
That's legit. All right, Pete. Talk to you Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody.